Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Would you come in here with me and let's sit down together? We're going to study Psalm 10, verse 18. But I think before we hit verse 18 today, I'd like to maybe just do a little review. So, Psalm 10, I've entitled this, The Grand Definition of the Wicked. It is one of those psalms where David comes to the subject of the problem of evil, and he addresses it. He identifies here in this psalm those who cause the wickedness in the world. He doesn't blame God. Actually, he says that the man who causes the wicked things is the one who blames God. He requires all the bad stuff at God's hand. But you really should review this psalm in addition to Psalm 49 and Psalm 73. Those psalms, all of them taken together with a few others, but those principally will address the problem of evil in the world. And David does a good job of sort of fleshing that out for us in these psalms. So he begins with questions, because always when we talk about the problem of evil in the world, we begin with the question, has God forgotten? So the questions here in Psalm 10 begin there in verse 1 and continue into verse 2. Why, O Lord, do you stand in the distance? You conceal yourself when there is trouble. That's my translation of verse 1. So this is always the thing that the problem of evil starts with. Where is God? How come he's hid himself? He's hiding somewhere. Where is he? What's he doing? How come he's not responding? Because from our perspective, it looks like he's not responding. So David begins with questions, and then he says, because God's not responding, or appears not to be responding, here's what the wicked man is doing. And then he gives us, beginning in verse 3, going all the way down to verse 13, this long list of things that describe the wicked man. And in that list, we have the wicked man's heart open to us, because he says in his heart, and that phrase is used 3 different times, and we get to hear the pride and the arrogance and the godlessness of the wicked man. Then, the last section of the psalm, 14 through 18, is how David resolves the problem. It seems that God is standing afar off. But David begins there in 14 and says, you have seen mischief. You've seen to require it in the world. You search out, he says, the wickedness until you find no more. So God is active. He sees. Not only is he active, but he's king. He sits on his throne and he reigns forever and ever. And he's going to incline to the afflicted. So the afflicted say, where's God? Why is he standing afar off? But David says, no, the Lord's on his throne, and he's inclined to those who are afflicted. He's opened his ear, so he doesn't miss anything that they have to say. And then we come to verse 18, and it continues the thought that we began there in 16. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do today. I know verse 18 is our subject, but I'm just going to read 16 through 18 just to put it all in context. The Lord is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land. Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their heart. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress. Okay, so here again, Lord is on his throne. This is always the solution to the problem of evil. It looks like God is standing afar off. He's hidden his face. He's not responding. But no, the Lord's on his throne. He's in charge. He's going to take care of it. He's going to answer the afflicted. He's going to pay back the wicked. He's going to drive them away. And then, verse 18, he's judging. Well, that's what the king does, isn't it? The king judges. He judges the orphan and the crushed because they've been crushed. They've been abused. And you look at verse 8, verse 9, and verse 10, and you see how that happens. The innocent are killed. The wicked man waits in ambush like a lion to sweep up the innocent in his net. And it says the Lord is going to judge that. He's going to judge the orphan and the crushed. Not them, but their condition, their situation, so that the wicked man is the one who's going to eventually stand before the throne. And God's going to take up the case of the orphan and the just against him. And then it says, so that the men of the earth will no longer continue to oppress. They're oppressing now, but one day they're not going to oppress. The Lord's going to bring all of that to a close. He's going to finally just put it all to pieces. All of it's going to come down. And there's going to be a reign that's God's going to put his king on the throne, and Messiah's going to reign, and there will be no more of this oppression. So this is the answer to the problem of evil. God is in charge. He's on his throne. He will judge. All right, join me again next time, and we'll look at Psalm 11, another Psalm of David. So I hope you'll join me then here on Daily Dose Radio.